I guess there is no public comment. So we will go to approving the January 29th minutes. They're very short, but Karen seems to have saved the day for us. So does anyone have any comments about the very short but very important January 29th minutes?
Doris goes.
I missed what you said, Doris.
Yeah, there was something unclear in that now I had it all memorized and I don't. In the language, it might have been in the first paragraph. So I'm wondering, I would like to move acceptance of the minutes with the small editorial I would like to propose there, you know, and add, you know, just change it. It's just like, it has to do with understanding the meaning of the words, and I can't remember what it was.
Doris,
the first paragraph.
Doris, would you like me to read the first paragraph?
Yeah, if you want to try,
okay.
Much better.
Sure. So this is the paragraph that starts with Mr. Clinton Edwards, Transit Service Manager, Department of Environmental Services, invited commissioners to the Star Engagement Open House, January 31, 6:30 to 7:30. Attendees will provide feedback on features. For example, track a ride, purchase tickets online, and additional items Star users would like to see moving forward as the department moves to improve the operations of Star. Those.
Is there more?
Yes. Those who are not able to attend in person will have the opportunity to participate online. The online engagement form will mirror the in-person sessions discussed during the open house. Online participation will be open until February 14.
Maybe it wasn't at that part.
Okay. Do you want me to keep reading if it was related to STAR?
I don't, now I'm confused about where it was here. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The next paragraph is about the advance notice.
Snow day?
The advanced notice of the event.
Okay.
So commissioners mentioned concerns regarding community members and STAR users not provided advanced notice of event. Mr. Edwards' shared information was shared with the Accessibility Subcommittee, emailed to STAR users the week of January 16th, and postcard mailers will go out to STAR users for feedback. Department of Human Services sent information on the open house to their clients. And it ends with commissioners asked, related to notifying communicating events, which of the two would include the minimum notification time for events, the county's communication plan, or the required communication plan by the Federal Transit?
That's the part that needs to be clarified. It's a language clarification. I think we were asking, the commission asked what were the minimum, what was the minimum advance notice for both of those requirements, and which was longer, because I asked it. I remember asking it.
Yeah, yes, you wanted to know how long.
That's correct. Yeah, I recall that also.
So just, clarifying that that's what we were asking, how long. He said, we did the minimum by the county. That's what I recall. He said, we did the minimum by the county, and then we asked what is in the plan, what is in our plan to the FTA, and what do they require as a minimum? But, I said that the wrong way, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If you accept that, I'll edit it a little. Give it to Courtney. That's the place that I wanted to clarify.
okay, thank you.
If it's acceptable to commission, to adopt it now, and then I'll do it.
I move that we adopt the minutes with Doris's amendment.
Second.
Any call to discussion?
Nope.
All right, motion granted. All right, well, thank you, Doris, for that carefully reading the minutes and that change. So now we are going to the Commissioner Karen A. Barcroft Land Use Group status analysis engagement working group. So are you still interested in presenting that?
This is Commissioner Karen. So I represented the Disability Advisory Commission at the kickoff meeting for the Barcroft, trying to have the proper name, the Barcroft Land Use Analysis Engagement Working Group. So that group met on February 7th. There were about 28 different organizations represented. So many of the neighborhood associations, the Columbia Pike Coordinating Group, the civic associations represented, the Columbia Pike Partnership, the Transportation Committee, Parks and Recreation, Housing, Forestry and Natural Resources. So it was a very, very large group. Most of the time was taken up by a presentation provided by staff that they talked about the project in general, and they had sent us the link to the plan that had been put together by the developer. And I can't remember their name.
National.
Pardon?
National.
Well, it's Jair, Jair.
Jair Lynch.
Yeah, Jair Lynch. That's correct.
Right.
It's Jair Lynch. They have a longer name. So anyways, the plan that was put forward is about 72 pages long, but the long and the short of it was it took about half the meeting for everybody to introduce themselves. There was a the staff presentation in PowerPoint, and I actually should share it with Courtney to share with all of you. And I apologize that I didn't do it. And there was a very short period of, they indicated that 4 topics are going to be discovered, that are going to be discussed in these working group meetings that are going to take place through May: conservation and redevelopment of the site, multimodal transportation and parking, and then public open space and natural areas and urban design. And there was a very short opportunity that it was really just a meet and greet, an opportunity for the staff to give the presentation and then the working group chairs to kick it off. So I would say there were 20, maybe 20 just comment from the representatives about really what's important to you from the perspective of the civic association or any commission or committee that you might be representing. And I don't think I wrote her name down, but before I had the opportunity, I think she was from the civic association. One of the members said accessibility. So
I bet that was Pam from the pedestrian advisory committee.
That might have been Pam.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I don't think I wrote her name.
Pam, I always forget her last name, but she's the head of the pedestrian advisory commission, and she has made it she came to speak to our group once, to talk about how it was important for us to have overlapping issues. And she has taken it upon herself to always mention accessibility whenever she goes on a site plan review, which is great because our commission is small and we can't always be everywhere.
I
So
think, yes, Elizabeth, I think it definitely was her, but I couldn't have put it any better. I mean, I added some comments, but she just said, everybody is talking about this site and this project being a once in a century opportunity. And so this is an opportunity for accessibility. So that was very, very good. So we meet, I believe.
Well, one of the things that I will say about that is that, that this, in part, is the work of Rosemary Ciani, because she was, if it's who I think it is, or one of the people that it could be, it's somebody from who is on or has been on the Planning Commission, and she had them trained after 12 years on the Planning Commission, and as the chair, she had them trained. I'm telling you, because I've gone to site plan review, and whether she's there or not, somebody will say something. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That is wonderful. So I guess my ask of all of you commissioners is, I haven't received the agenda for next week yet, but what would you like me to carry forward from this commission?
Well, one of the things that they need to clarify is what will be the input of this committee. What is it going towards? And I don't know whether the staff briefing will give you that, but they've already started some redevelopment on the property. And they're in phase one, which is a building that is grandfathered under the Fair Housing Act, and doesn't have accessible units now, nor units that are situated, on the property so that they could be made accessible. At least that's what they told the Housing Commission recently, when the money was, when they were seeking AHIP funds to help them with the financing. And the second phase, though, will be buildings, a couple of buildings, I think, or something like that, that are going to be made accessible, we were told, and with using bump out apartments like they did at Buckingham, since it's, an old project in the garden style for the most part. And so we need to be watching as this goes down the track, but I don't know. What I'm not clear about is whether this is another site plan review type committee, or, I got the impression it was something about land use around the area, but it's taking the same format as most site plan reviews do, which is, the architecture, and the uses, the architecture, and then the community benefits. And so basically they're doing that. And there's a new building being built down on the property, but that's coming along. Maybe they're going to do this in pieces, so that's coming along a little bit later. I think site plans 3 or 4, and the new building. Is this anything like you heard? I think I'm on the right track.
I think that you are, and so, the official name of the group is just the Land Use Analysis Working Group, but really what was discussed at the meeting on the 7th was the need for engagement. I just looked through my emails, and on Friday, because I was away for the weekend, on Friday, one of the county staff sent thank you for participating. Here's the recording, which I'll share all this with Courtney, and the summary, but they haven't given us any read-aheads. I just checked. So the next meeting is the 26th, and it's set on Friday next week, meaning this week, we'll provide read-ahead materials. So whenever I receive them, I'm just going to give everything to Courtney and ask Courtney to send it to you all. But in the interim, if you have, beyond what Doris has shared, if you have anything else you want me to, any questions or anything you want me to take forward.
I think the transportation is going to be a big issue, and the pedestrian rights of way. And also what, if anything, they're obligated to do or should do regarding walkways through the property, because it's 1,300 units, and then they're going to build a new building. I'm not sure that actually increases the number of units, but they're going to build a new building, and that will be something we want to watch out for. And then also part of the new building complex will be a new community center with a pool that will be potentially, well, it's supposed to be accessible because it's going to be a community center, and not just for residents necessarily. So those are some of the issues that will come up accessibility wise. And because it's land use, I don't know whether they're talking about adding, around the complex commercial properties and stuff like that. It's very interesting that they've been through the redevelopment and they've had meetings on that, and they've been through a couple of site plans, and now they're coming to this kind of zoning stuff. I guess it's zoning.
Okay,
But it is a big project.
it is a huge project, and they did mention possibly adding to the number of units, but there were no further details. So any other commissioners with questions or items you'd like me to bring forward representing this commission?
I'm not sure, I'd have to think some more.
And I'll tomorrow I will send Courtney what I received, and also if you'd like to read the 72-page plan. I have not made my way through the whole thing. If it's okay, Elizabeth and everyone, I will do this at our meetings, just brief what occurred and then ask what you all have for me to take forward at the next meeting. I think you're on mute.
That would be fine. In fact, it could become one of our standing liaison reports, if it's okay with Courtney to list that as one of our standing liaison reports. That would be great. We really appreciate you going to this, and to all of you that go to, we get site plan review requests. It seems like at least one a month. So I really appreciate Doris and Karen, you stepped up, our new member. So thank you again to you and to Doris for always sharing what you know of through the Housing Commission. So now we come to the chair's report. I do not have anything from last month or this month. As I explained, I've been on medical leave, but I believe that Courtney may have sent you all a letter from me saying that I am needing to step down as chair. I just don't have the time to commit that the chairmanship really deserves. So hopefully I will step down when a new chair is appointed. And so we could, I don't know that there's a formal process, at least that Courtney has mentioned to me, but I didn't necessarily hear from anyone that they were excited to become chair. But I guess we could take nominations now. Is that correct, Courtney, or do I have to follow a different process?
You could do it that way. They can accept nominations that way, or if you wanted to, I think at one point Graham was asking for recommendations. So if you have recommendations, you can send that to Graham. So I think it's kind of dependent. You may want to ask Graham. But if you guys want to do nominations, that's perfectly fine. But Graham had also asked for recommendations as well.
Okay. I'm at a distinct disadvantage because for some reason I've been having the DAC materials go to my work email, which was a mistake, and I've been locked out of my work email for the past 7 weeks because of some HR requirement when you're on long-term leave. So it's really been like losing an arm. But if there were conversations with Graham, I'm sorry, I didn't get them. That's how I didn't bring that up. But so if I think we should see if anyone is at least interested in being nominated here, because otherwise it would just be a shot in the dark to make reservations to Graham. So
Right.
yeah. Does anyone want to nominate
If
themselves?
anybody is interested in me doing it, I would prefer to wait until I find a job, but I would be willing to do it after that. But I can't tell you when that will be. So if anybody is wondering about me, that's kind of where I am with things right now. I'm really struggling to keep up with all of the things that go into all that. So again,
Yeah.
I'm willing, but not yet.
I think that would be cool.
I appreciate you explaining that, Alexa, because I know what it's like when you have to send out cover letters, 1 million of them a day, or however many you've promised yourself. Doris, did you say something that I missed?
Like what?
I was wondering if I'd missed something that you'd said, but maybe not.
No, I was just saying, I was just supporting the offer that she just made.
And this is Karen.
I was just saying, well, I'll support you.
Yes, yes, and this is Karen. I am brand new on the committee, on the commission, so I would absolutely support you in any way that I could.
Same here, because I just have too many, my hands in too many buckets right now to give the chairmanship, the chair role, the time it deserves as well.
Right. Well, Alexa, we know that you are a wealth of knowledge, and I mean, I know that at least. So that would be great. The question is, would we be able to have interim chairs each month until Alexa was able to take on the position? It seems like that's one way to go. I know that everyone's been very amenable when we've asked for interim chairs in the past when I haven't been able to do it. So that is one possible way. Oh, or is that the kind of thing you were thinking, Alexa?
Sense to me.
Elizabeth?
I was saying maybe we could have interim chairs. People volunteer to be interim chairs until such time as Alexa would be able to take over as the official chair.
Yeah, I heard that. So what I wanted to say also is, we've been served, a couple of us have done meetings while you couldn't be here. And my understanding of my position is part of why I wouldn't seek it, but I might not even seek it anyhow. But I am under the understanding that the chair has to be an Arlington County resident. And that's fine. I knew that coming in. But I would be. Is that right, Courtney?
I have to look into that, I guess. I've never had that question asked. I can research that.
But nonetheless, I'm happy that Alexa or anybody else would do it. But whatever I can do to help, if we have interims where we need a chair and that becomes convenient.
Well, Doris, I think you're one of the most integral members of the commission because you bring so much knowledge about housing, so much that you bring back from WMATA and from the housing committee. So, it makes sense to me that we could have another person as chair, or I mean, so that you didn't have to do almost 75% of the yeoman's work. Yeah.
We can always have vice.
That's true. That's true.
With a little libation. I didn't say it.
I agree.
Well, we don't know. I guess Justin and some others aren't here, so I don't know what you guys think. Should we just say, well, they weren't here and they haven't contacted me, so we can go ahead with our plan of nominating Alexa? That would be my preference. Or we could wait until we can put out another call for folks to contact me or Courtney if they're interested and hold it over until next month. Does anybody have thoughts on that?
What do we need to do for the next meeting? I mean, if there's not, we could wait if there's, except I guess going into those, the commission meetings on the budget stuff, right?
Right. Oh, yes, yes. That's a very good point, Doris. We have been asked to be on the commission budget meetings. So it doesn't have to be the chair of the commission that goes. It could be anyone that goes, but they specifically have sent the invitation to the chair. So it would be best if somebody who is thinking about being chair, like Alexa, might be interested in going to that budget meeting.
And when is this meeting?
I would have to search back through my emails. Hopefully it would be after our next, I know it's in March,
March
But-
5th, March
March-
5th.
March 5. So in fact, maybe we should dedicate some time after this conversation to identifying what we might want to have proposed at the budget meeting, rather than throw Alexa in it, like a fuel to the fire. I'm happy to try to go in March, rather than try to ask somebody to be ready in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know that I could be ready in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We try to support you in any way you need it, but I don't think that I could take that on right now. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think only one person, the chair or whoever is the designee of
Yeah, I
the
think
chair
that's one.
can speak, but I remember that I went with, it was after I was an appointee, but I remember that I went in with a chair, but I don't remember which one it was.
Well,
Yeah, may allow to somebody, like if somebody is if you're going in and somebody is trying to catch up and see what happens at these meetings, I think that might be allowed. We'd have to.
well, if it has to be in person, then I probably can't because I'm really not supposed to travel and with at this point. But I thought I read that it was virtual or in person. But
Yes, you have to indicate who will represent your group and if their attendance will be virtual or in person. So so the representation can be, Elizabeth, virtual, but I would ask about Doris's question if an additional commission member, if an additional commissioner could also attend in person to observe. That's, I guess that Courtney is a question for you. If Elizabeth gave the 5-minute or less presentation virtually, if another commissioner would be permitted to attend the meeting in person just to observe, or virtually to observe and kind of come up to speed.
Or we could ask Doris to do the whole thing and provide her input on a 5-minute presentation. I'm only suggesting that, Doris, because probably one of our budget requests would be related to housing, and you are very articulate on that topic. But then again, I'm not going to volunteer someone. And I do have the materials that we developed about housing, as well as the comment that we've requested in the past, which is for an ADA coordinator, an ADA 504 coordinator who could look to be a designated person to contact in the event of non-compliance with the ADA, making the point that right now people contact us and we're not really equipped to be taking on that role. So those were the 2 points I would think of making: housing and an ADA coordinator. I don't know if other, well, we're kind of jumping ahead. What do people think about, we have a quorum. I would raise a motion to consider Alexa as a nominee for chair, with voluntary chair people until she's able to take on the commitment full time. Does that make sense? Did I make any sense? Is that to your liking, Alexa?
What I didn't quite gather is what are you asking me to do about this budget thing coming up?
Oh, this is not connected at all to the budget thing. I just realized that we were in the middle of your nomination, then we jumped ahead to the budget, and I wanted to circle around.
Because one of the things that I want to know before I take on that budget thing is, even if I'm observing, is that me observing for 3 hours, or is that me observing for 10 minutes, or, what am I being asked to do right now? So I just want to make sure that that's clear to me, because that isn't something that I had, written, okay, you're going to do this on March 1st, you're going to X, Y, Z, A, B, C. So I just want to be absolutely clear what I'm being asked to do and exactly when. Because what I was saying is, again, once I get settled, I'm willing to take things over. I don't know I hope everything will be settled by March 4th. I would not expect it to.
That makes sense. And I was about clear as mud, so I'm glad that you had me clarify. I'm considering this in 2 parts. Let's circle back to a nominee. And I don't know if people who are better at parliamentary procedure than I am, are we allowed to take a vote now on Courtney as the designated new chair at the time upon which she is able? Or should we just put it in the minutes that we had this discussion with Courtney making that offer, and then raise it again next month?
Does something need to go to the county person? I think the name was Graham or something.
Graham. Do we have to send it to Graham to make the nomination, Courtney?
Right, so if for the record, let's strike Courtney for Alexa as a nominee.
Oh,
I feel honored. I don't know if you're in good hands, but yeah, so if the commission votes on the recommendation,
Okay.
then the recommendation would be forwarded to Graham. So that's what you'd be doing, to move to nominate Alexa and then for the recommendation, because then the board would need to appoint her when that time is ready, so.
I think the board may come back with saying, we're gonna have, sorry, let me pull this closer. I think the board's gonna come back saying, we're going to implement a interim chair rotation until they have a confirmed chair who can take over. One, present stability from the county board, because they do have to make this motion in front of, in public. So I think we may want to definitely indicate in the record that, we currently support Alexa to take on that reign. But I think finding an interim chair, or seeing if the board would accept an interim rotation is probably, it sounds like we're gonna have to send our questions to Graham to confer with the board and, county attorney's office if we need to, and, see what they recommend.
Well, I do know for another commission that I have.
Yeah.
The chair wasn't ready to assume the post until August.
Courtney,
So
I
they
can't
had-
hear your
I'm
official
sorry.
path.
I'm sorry. I can.
Sometimes I kind of something.
So I do know with another commission that I staff, a similar situation occurred where the person who was voted and recommended wasn't ready to assume the chair position until August. So they had an interim, but it was only one person who served that.
Yeah.
And then that person assumed that role. It wasn't a revolving kind of person. So it was one person serving as interim. And then they were already appointed and they already knew that August 1st date, that person was assuming them. But I can definitely ask Graham about the interim and get back to the commissioners with you on that.
Courtney, there must be a process, and I've never seen it because I've never sought it because I was under the understanding that you had to be county resident. You could serve on the commission if you lived and worked in, but you have to be. So I just never sought the information. But what I do know is that over the years, even before I was even appointed to the commission, I was observing for ECMB, and frequently the person who became the chair, I don't know where they came from. They were just announced to the commission, and sometimes they have come from the commission, but most times, whether they came from serving on some other commission or whether they just saw the opening. Is there an advertisement, or how do they do it? Is basically what I'm trying to point to. Maybe we should be also asking how they do it.
Okay, and I can follow up with Graham on that. But based on my experience, it's been where the commissioners have recommended or nominated and voted on the recommendation on who they wanted, and then that goes to the board staff liaison, and then that
If
goes
you're
to.
using it, Mike, it's not working. Sorry.
Can you hear me
now?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, it turned off. So my experience has been that the commissioners have nominated and voted. Is it working, the mic, or?
Yes, it's working.
Mhm.
But that has never happened to my knowledge.
Right, so I have two commissions, so I'm going by another.
How did you get in?
Courtney, did you just ask me how I got it? There
She
was a
did.
vote. I've been the chair for about a year and a half, and there was a vote, and you guys voted, and I guess you sent it up to Graham,
You were already on, right? You were
I was already on the commission, but I might be able to make this easier by saying that as I said in the letter, I would stay on until a commissioner was appointed. And so maybe I can just agree to stay on for at least another 2 months and see what happens as far as Alexa's schedule. That just might, I mean, it's not like I'm so swamped that I can't do it for another 2 months. If that would help the situation, unless anybody in the room was like dying to be the interim chair.
I'm not getting that impression. I don't think anybody else.
I would suggest doing that and also finding out if there are eligibility criteria, because chairs are on a different track somehow,
Right, they have to be appointed.
like at any place else.
So maybe what I'll do is I'll let Graham know that I'll be on for at least another 2 months, and then we might have to appoint another interim chair. But that Alexa has indicated we nominate Alexa to be nominated to Graham. It seems like that's the process.
Elizabeth and everyone else, if Elizabeth, you needed to step down in 2 months, and Alexa, you were still in transition, I mean, I could step in as interim. At that
Right.
point, I am traveling almost the entire month of April, and I'm gonna miss the April meeting. I know I can attend in March, but
Okay.
if an interim was required beginning in May, I could do it. And then we'd have to talk about how long. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know that this requires a motion, but just so that Courtney gets it in the minutes, as I see us going forward, I'm happy to do it for March and April. Continue to be the chair for March and April, then have Karen be the interim chair after, for the months after April until Alexa is prepared to take on as chair.
So,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
To get us back on parliamentary track.
Yeah.
Given how you crafted your resignation letter, you maintain interim status until we appoint a new interim chair. So no action is required from us until then.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's so
Yep.
good to know. All right.
And if somebody calls me back tomorrow, I will let you guys know.
Yay.
Sit at this point.
All right, that's great. So, now that, thank you, Karen mentioned the budget. I'd like to spend at least just the next 10 minutes discussing areas where we might want to bring, we might want to have somebody mention at the budget. Right now, I'm happy to go to the budget meeting, but it would have to be virtual. And if anyone else would like to go in my stead, it sounds like we can appoint whomever we want to go to the budget meeting. If somebody thinks like somebody like Doris would like to attend for the commission, Doris or Alexa or anyone else. I've already mentioned 2 issues that I would think I could raise based on the housing issue, based on the letter that we wrote many months ago, the ADA coordinator position, based, as I expressed earlier, the need for somebody to be able to have a specific county person to report lack of ADA and 504 compliance to, because as we know, the county right now just has somebody taking in information on Virginia code issues, and that's not sufficient. Does anyone have other issues that they would want to be raised or to be raised as a higher priority than those 2? Yeah, yes, Doris.
So I think in the context, the housing issue in the context of the county budget,
Uh-huh.
I'd be offering to them that they should consider having such a person either in the Office of Human Rights, but who is a dedicated person, or in code enforcement. And if they don't like that, I'd say in the county manager's office, but which is where Office of Human Rights is anyway. And utilizing, and the reason I say those two places is, and utilizing a mixture of county funding and general funds and the consolidated plan, which actually provides some money to the Office on Human Rights for doing fair housing testing and such. And one of the things that we've sought over the years has also been an increase in the number of investigations of discrimination in housing on the basis of disability. And the other thing that I will mention that's related to the budget, that I think is really important in any, at least in testimony, if not mentioning in the meeting, is that no matter what happens at the state level, and no matter what any jurisdiction does, we need to make sure that the county's budget is sufficient for WMATA to fully fund bus and rail service and help with the combined problem of $750 million in budget deficit for WMATA, because Arlington residents are so heavily vested in bus, rail, and Metro Access, because Metro Access is the key to STAR, getting STAR service. So, and all that has the risk of being cut back starting July 1 if the county, because the county's money, the county's operation subsidy for WMATA is separate from whatever the state kicks in. And we're working on our General Assembly members now, but the budget has to increase for WMATA to make sure the money is made up, and every single Virginia jurisdiction is going to have to do this. And then I guess full funding for STAR as well, because right now, STAR, correct me if I'm wrong, Alexa, but STAR appears to have its budget is strapped at where it is now, right? You're not putting any extra money in it?
That's what it seems like to me, although, again, the impression that I'm getting is that a bunch of people from the community are trying to ask, what is this actually looking like? When is the RFP going out? What's going on? And, we keep getting, we'll tell you later, So
they're going to make improvements, right? But nobody, but
yeah, but
are they asking for more money for
that? I have not heard that, and I'm saying, given that I have not heard that, I think it's a safe bet to assume that they're not asking for more money, because they would have said it if they were.
And then human services and the rest of it, others, we always need money for human services. I don't know exactly.
Everybody needs money, fund everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say one budget request is, especially as we go into like Arlington 2050 visioning, if the county could source a consultant in county visioning and how accessibility is like incorporated into that. So we're obviously, the commission will be here to provide that advice, but having that secondary consultant to help them look through the county visioning process and provide staff that guidance of gaps in the visioning, so Arlington 2050 can be more accessible for our residents. I think that is a reasonable ask for a 30-year vision.
Wow. I think these are all excellent.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell, they didn't make us prioritize. I don't know, Karen, do you have that in front of you, whether it says that we are limited to a certain number of suggestions or just as many recommendations as we can make in our 3-minute speech?
This is Karen. Let me pull up the email. It's 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So I'm trying to pull up the email again.
Well, we could cover a heck of a lot in 5 minutes.
We did. All right, it says.
Is there anything in the capital? I know that Bill Staterman was always looking at this. Is there anything in the capital improvement program, the bricks and mortar for county buildings and facilities and things that we should bring up?
Well, was it Duncan that was mentioning he was pursuing CIP money for the adult changing tables?
Justin.
Justin.
Yes.
Yes. So I know that CIP was raised in that connection, but do you have other thoughts on that, Doris?
Now, I know that we haven't been meeting very much recently, I guess, because they're in the middle of it, but well, I guess this is school board. They're renovating the career center and all of the surrounding, like Montessori school and all of that.
Right.
And in Whole City, they're going to be developing the new school. Although I don't know how many years down the road that is, and again, it is a school budget thing, and the county board doesn't really have too much control until they get to negotiating. I mean, that's the way it is all over Virginia, that the county boards develop their own. I mean, the board of education develops its own budgets. So I'm just thinking out loud. I would guess pedestrian rights of way and stuff might be something.
Okay, well, I can contact Pam and try to find out what they're saying related to that and see if there's something that would be important for us to echo. So Karen, what did you find out about the 5 minutes? Are we limited to any amount of recommendations?
No, let me read it. Each representative will have up to 5 minutes to give input to the county board following the department presentations. Your remarks should address the following. Based on your group's review of the county manager's proposed budget, what considerations, issues, and implications would you raise to the board's awareness and attention? That's the first. And then the second item, did the group, meaning our commission, identify additional opportunities for collaboration, consolidation, or retooling that could lead to expense reductions or program efficiencies?
Wow, that's a very smart thing for them to ask.
It's smart. I don't know what to say.
Not exactly where we were going.
No.
So I guess that means I should be reading their proposed plan before the meeting.
Right,
Because, yeah,
that's one reason why I was asking if I was being asked to accompany, because I would feel like I would need to read the budget and do all of that. And again, it was not something that I had planned, but could be something that I could do if that's something you need, Elizabeth.
I don't think so. I'm not ramped up to full time back at work yet, so I can read the plan and try to fit in what we already have. So, but we're not meeting prior to then. So what I think I'll do is read the plan, highlight some sections where I think that our issues would fit in, highlight some sections where there are not our issues, and maybe contact Pam and see if we can have any issues that overlap with the pedestrian advisory committee. So I will do that. Also, Courtney, I know that there's a recording of this, so I can make sure that I catch almost verbatim the recommendations that were made. But ideally, if I send something out, I would love your wordsmithing on this, because to help me be as pithy as possible, and to help and see if you guys would agree on where our issues might fit into the existing plan, that kind of thing. So
Should expect something from you. So that to give myself time to read whatever
Right.
you smithed.
Right. Well, I would be doing it over the weekend, so would get it to you this coming Monday. But hopefully that's not after the meeting.
This is the moment, I forgot a very important thing. This is the moment to say something about our need for, if we feel that we have a need for, our need for more funding for our grantees. And Courtney, can I ask a nosy question? How much time do you dedicate to the DAC? I mean, how, are you paid to do other jobs? Are you only part-time to us? That's what I meant.
I'm not gonna say that. I have 2 commissions, so.
Yeah.
But you're
Because if
salary.
we don't have a
I'm
fully
salary, yeah.
full-time person for a jurisdiction this size, there's nothing wrong with us for advocating for it. I know that even now, I think, but I know for sure that just a few years back, Fairfax County had 3 people staffing the commission and disability services for their county. So surely we should have a full-time one. But anyway, that's just the logic that maybe just, even if it's 20 seconds or something, or whatever you need.
I would say,
And to do it, I mean, we can't properly do any kind of real assessment of the need. We need somebody who would have time to do some kind of real assessment and engagement with the disability community on a more regular basis. How about that?
I'm I'm happy to try to add that. I feel like asking for an ADA housing and HUD coordinator might be, and then asking for
that person too, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that person too. What do other people think? I would put that towards the end myself.
I would,
Go ahead, Alexa.
just saying, I would recommend, given how many different things we've already talked about, I would definitely recommend when you write something up, timing how long it takes you to say it, and considering, if you write it all down and there are 7 things and you only have time to talk about 3, then you may need to find some way to cut it down to 5. So,
Right.
Especially considering that, hopefully the most recent real estate assessment cut down that budget gap that we're facing. I think it was $25 million the last time.
Yeah, that chart.
Yeah,
the graphic is ominous.
Yeah, that the county manager provided us an update. There was a 2.5% increase in assessments. It is Arlington County, so that is going to be a couple $1 million, but not the full $25 million. So that's just something for us to keep in mind in terms of our budget ask. If the county could give us 3 things, what would it be? That type of mindset, I think,
Right.
would be helpful in crafting your message for the meeting.
Okay, well, so what I plan to do then is go through the minutes of this meeting, pull out the recommendations that were made, try to also put them in the context of the report, and then send it on to you as far as helping to prioritize when I start my 5 minutes, and then maybe some wordsmithing. So that would be me getting it to you on the 26th, which would be just short of a week prior to that. And then that would give all of the commissioners a chance to rate Whitworth for, first of all, how it's stated and how it could be better stated, whether it fits within their existing plan, and what we think the most 3 or 4 urgent priorities are.
You know what? See, just to give you a piece of background that you might want to put in your mind when you write this up, is that there was a time, about 20 years, something like that, 20, 25, whatever, when the state provided money to the commissions at the local level to do a triennial assessment and of their communities. And of course, it was sent up to the state, but we got extra funding for that. And that funding sunset in the mid-teens. And I think we'd have to look to see whether, like many of the jurisdictions, our commissioners and others had to take cuts because we weren't getting the state funding anymore. And only one of them I know came out standing up, and that was Fairfax County, because they did get some extra money in, but then it really isn't, in their case, it isn't even sufficient for the size of the county. But the point being that, I wouldn't be afraid to ask, even if, but to inform them, we're doing more for less, or trying to do more for less. What do you think about that?
That makes a lot of sense.
Might set us up, maybe not for this year, but 2 or 3 years down the road.
Right. Plus the fact that we're taking people's complaints on issues that we are not necessarily equipped to be taking complaints on, because there's no other person appointed in the county to do so. It's all similar. We're being asked to do more, some of it outside of our knowledge base, potentially. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And going towards that, I know we're asking for a full-time ADA coordinator. My curiosity is, how many county staff have an ADA certification?
Which one?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Well,
How many staff? What?
with sorry.
How many staff have any sort of ADA certification?
Yes.
It's an ADA coordinator certificate, or if it's like
Yeah.
technical weight testing certificates or anything. I'd just be curious about any sort of certification.
And my ask would be, it's like, well, if you can't offer us an FTE, could you at least provide funding for staff to get those certifications?
Staff who have some decision-making, who make some decisions related to disability issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think staff do get some funds in their like professional development budget, but like special dedicated funds saying, you know, staff, you don't have to take this out of your personal professional development funds. This is, you know, for this specific certification, you know, just trying to create a solution in a difficult budget season.
Yeah, I think that's great. Again,
So-
I'll try to capture all of this.
The ADA centers nationally, I forget which is the lead. I want to say.
Great Lakes, I think.
Is it Southwest or Pacific with Great Lakes? One of them has actually a certification program.
That actually, I'm working on that certification, and
But it takes like a year or two.
not necessarily. It's 40 hours of courses, and most of them are free. They're the webinars. If you just collect, they're in different thematic areas, and you just collect the credits. And I think it's $300 to join the association or the group, and $300 to take the test. So for the county, they it's time, right? It's actually a minimal investment for professional development.
Yeah.
It's the time that on an employee's like individual development plan, the manager would agree that they would be able to set aside time to do the training or the webinars, most of which are free, and then the membership and then the test. I think it's under $600.
Yeah. And would meet the county's equity goals. So there's definitely a current program in process, hoping that the county manager would dedicate a champion to that.
And then on a related note, the Department of Homeland Security, their Trusted Tester 508 program is free.
Mhm.
Those courses are all free. They're pretty technical, some of them, but there's no cost.
The key would be to have people taking the courses that actually had some decision making and connection to disability decisions. Because I could see them saying, well, just anybody who's interested, take the course. And then you wouldn't necessarily get the right people. I think it's a great suggestion, Brian. So we have 1/2 hour left. You guys can continue to think of you guys can continue to think of things while maybe we go to the count the reports, the committee reports. If does anybody have a report from a committee that they've been on? That might be the quickest way to go about it. Looks like Alexa does.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I think I've kind of given you everything that I've heard. I did not go to that meeting on STAR where they were soliciting feedback from people. Did anybody go to that? And anybody who
Are you
did
talking
care
about
to say anything about it?
So that was the meeting that was at Central Library. So it wasn't a meeting, it was the open community feedback
Yeah, I can't
session.
remember. I'm sorry, I got the name of it.
It was the program manager, of course, I can't remember his name.
Sorry, I can't.
I'm sorry, Doris, is that better?
No, you need to use the mic to check it.
It's an awesome test to show.
Where's the?
Yes. Yes.
Is that, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes,
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, it wasn't on. The session was at Central Library, and there were a few attendees. I was there at the beginning, but as the program manager explained when he was here, they had a series of boards, and then they were stations that were manned by folks from the program, and they focused on the issues that they identified that came out of what they said were the issues that people had raised. I probably was there 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and maybe there were 6 people attending.
Yes, that's what Rose,
And she-
Roseanne Ashby.
And Roseanne was there. I actually
She
spoke to
and-
Roseanne.
She and Paul, and that's what they wrote, 4 to 6 people. I'll be with them. I'm sorry, I just wanted to confirm your observation.
Yeah.
The other thing is that they've approached ECNV now,
Oh, they finally approached you?
but guess what? They approached saying they'd like to come and talk to a staff meeting. That's not what this commission suggested they do. We suggested that they, send their announcements for these input sessions through us and let us advertise them. And then they said they were coming to visit, will only be staff. But our staff said, no, we want to have some consumers in it. So if anybody wants to know about when that's set up, they also, I think, probably wanted it to be before they were getting together a budget. That's what this is all about, I think, to feed into the budget process and the contract. You think so, Alexa?
I think so. I think,
For what they want to do, but one of the concerns for the members of the community was that if that doesn't address the problems and the issues like long waits for, what they're going to do about that, how they're going to long.
yeah, I mean,
Reliability and penalties on.
did they discuss those things at that meeting?
No, that's the thing. That's what everybody objects to.
No.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
what they said was, well, we've determined if these are the 4 or so, issues, and so people, come to these stations and you basically rate how important is this issue to you. But they didn't get into the details. I even asked, well, what if someone's got a comment? I think it was about the ability to check on your ride status. I think that was one. Well, I said, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I actually am a commissioner, but I'm new to the commission, so I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I don't know much about this. So explain to me, if I've made my reservation, how do I check on the status of my ride currently? And it was like, well, meaning there really isn't a way to check on the status of your ride.
And that's exactly what they did with the cat. They said, these, right? I mean, am I wrong about that, Alexa?
No, you're not wrong about that.
And the people from the SOS group, they were there and said that nobody wanted to hear it.
Right, and this is what I find very troubling is, my understanding is that they're, I'm not sure exactly where they are in terms of putting out a request for proposals, but one of the things that came up as an issue with the previous county folks that handled STAR was, Red Top Cabs started to have this problem where they weren't showing up. And the way I recall what happened, the county said, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to look into our contract and find out what we're authorized to do to discipline them. And then they found that they weren't allowed to do anything. And so if we are looking at proposals and all that, if we're looking at the nitty gritty right now, what is being put in these proposed contracts about, these missed rides and things? Because these missed rides and things, my understanding is that part of the reason this is a problem is because, people don't really take taxis the way that they used to before Uber and Lyft happened. So if we want to be able to do something about this, we really need details about what they're looking into putting into contracts, because, I don't want it to be, 3 years from now and the same thing is happening and they're going, oh, we'll discipline them. And then the question is, according to what? And then the answer is we can't.
So this is Karen again, I don't mean to belabor the point, but now I recall that I sort of cornered Mr. Edwards and asked him about the request for proposal process, and asked, when you put out a request for proposal, you do your research, so you look at similar requests for proposals or other jurisdictions. So I asked him what they were using as other jurisdictions, and if they had given thought to reviewing these other proposals to put those standards and metrics for contract performance. And he said, well, we're going to comply with the ADA. And I said, well, of course, but what I'm talking about is there's performance measures. So if there are like, for example, if there's 3 reported instances of a no-show and there's no follow-up, then the county could determine they don't get paid that month. Like, you can put that in a contract.
Right.
Well, it should be there because it is an ADA requirement. I'm not sure that he knows what the ADA requirements are.
So we had a very nice discussion, because I said, you did that survey, and my suggestion is when you do another survey, you benchmark these other jurisdictions and ask them, could we see your surveys? So I was trying to be polite, but yes, so.
I will say one thing to that, and I don't, apologies if you've already heard this, I can't remember exactly when you came on, but this whole STAR thing started under an old group of staff at the county. What they were doing is they were looking into cuts that they could make. And then what they were doing is they were researching other jurisdictions, paratransit, so that they could say things like, oh, we have a longer wait window than any of the rest of these, we need to cut our wait window. So I wonder, and again, I'm not saying this to defend them at all, I'm just wondering if the idea of studying other jurisdictions got them flat-footed because they were thinking, oh, we did that and you guys didn't like it, so we threw it away. Because the impression that I get from them is that they're trying to present this as a clean slate. They're trying to present this as, we know you guys knew that we were proposing cuts, you got angry with us, we're doing something different. But what they won't do is say what the something different is. And that's why, I get the impression that that's why people are really, trying to push them to say more specific things about what they're looking into, because what we're afraid is going to happen is that they're going to tell us nothing, propose cuts.
Alexa, did they promise that they would issue minutes or any product as a result of the public meeting?
So this is Karen. It was tricky because it wasn't a meeting, right? It was an engagement. I forget what they called it, but it was an engagement session.
It was actually, and I didn't even go to it, but I was going to, except that I was not able to for work. But it was the same exact format from what everybody told me as WMATA uses for their open houses when they're going to change or get rid of service or change service. And it's the same format, the exact same format that WMATA used for the Better Bus Project when they went around and did all these outreach sessions. Same format.
We as a commission,
really, it wasn't appropriate for a jurisdiction, you know, the issues for a jurisdiction the size of Arlington, where they could get the community here close, and one that is not as complex as WMATA serving 3 states, you know, jurisdictions in 3 states. It was crazy. And then to hold it, I mean, this was awful. To hold it on January 31 when they could have been holding it in September, October, when there was at least decent weather. And then the timing of the thing, which is the same timing about.
I've told them over and over that I have heard consistently for literal years that people want more of a heads up. You know, we're having this thing next month. We're having this thing 2 months from now. We're having this thing, you know, and more signs and more, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, I think the question asked at this meeting about, you know, how close to the wire is the county allowed to send this stuff out? Because that's been ticking people off for as long as I've been around. And I don't, you know, I don't understand why you couldn't, you know, oh, it's February 20th. I'm planning something and I want to make sure people have time, so I'm going to make sure that I have it first week of April at the latest, at the earliest, you know, something like that, where they don't even answer that. And, you know, Mr. Edwards' response is always that he's doing what he's supposed to do, and not, you know, who decided what you're supposed to do, what, you know, he's overworked. What could we do to get the information out for him? Or, you know, it's just, oh, well, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. Well,
Courtney, is there any way you could check and see whether there's a recording of the meeting or something where we might be able to, if the report does come down in the end and is woefully inadequate, we could at least point to comments that were made that weren't followed up on? I mean, I'd be surprised if there wasn't some kind of recording.
Yes, I record all meetings, so last month's meeting's already posted. I can share it with the commission when I send out the minutes.
Are you asking about this, about our last meeting?
Yeah.
Or are you asking about the event?
When Mr. Edwards came, or?
Yeah, no, I was asking about the event, the public event where people raise these things.
I asked Mr. Edwards if he recorded the meeting at that event.
Great. That'd be really great, because not that we necessarily have time to listen to it, but if the report comes back crappy, somebody could take the time to listen to it and say, well, what did you do with our feedback here, here, and here? Potentially. Are you aware of any follow-up, Alexa, that other groups are doing that we may want to piggyback onto?
None that I've seen. Admittedly, I've been kind of absorbed with the job search, but I will go back and look, at some of the community groups and stuff and make sure that I'm up to date on all of it. I think I am, but I don't want to swear to that at this second.
Okay.
I'll
Well, thank
look.
you for the report. Does any other folks have commission reports they want to mention?
Are you talking about this TAC issue and STAR now, still?
Doris, I think she might be asking if you have any liaison reports.
What?
Doris, I think she may be asking if you have any liaison reports.
I'm sorry,
Your
mics aren't working.
They go in sleep mode and it's been.
Doris, I think she may have been asking if you have any of your liaison reports.
Oh, any reports? Yes. WMATA will be holding hearings on their FY25 budget, and they will be next week. And they're having 4 meetings. I'll have to get you the schedule, but they're all next week. And so that's all we got. We asked for more. We asked for 2 in each jurisdiction, but they didn't give it to us. But and this is so this is for comment on next year's budget, and it includes a docket, and I'll send this to you in the announcement that we got. So they only gave 15 days, and I do mean calendar days, to announce this. The transit authorities do this well, at least WMATA does it all the time. So STAR isn't alone. But so these are public hearings, and one of them is going to be here in this building in the county boardroom. And I believe it's either Tuesday or Wednesday night next week. And you can sign up to testify. And then there's one of the hearings, which will be the last one, which I believe is Thursday, will be at noon of all times, and it will be virtual. But we really need to be there, and I don't know whether we can advertise this out from the commission, through, for example, tonight I mentioned at the WMATA Metro Access Subcommittee that they go through vehicles like the newsletter Inside Arlington, and I haven't seen it in there. If anybody has seen it, let me know, but I don't want to be saying the wrong thing. But I haven't seen it in there, and I haven't seen it in other counties in Virginia and cities in Virginia. And so I gave them a number of resources. But nonetheless, this is the docket is what bus lines they're going to cut, what service they're going to reduce, the hours of service, which metro stations of 10 metro stations are going to be closed. This is if they don't have enough money from Virginia General Assembly. Maryland and DC have already said they're coughing up the money. So we're the ones who are going to be in big trouble. So anyway, so we need to get there and talk about how important bus and rail service is to people with disabilities who don't drive, and how important ADA paratransit metro access is for our communities, and so we can get to jobs even if they're over in Maryland or wherever, in DC, wherever. So that's any member of this commission, but if anybody can get the word out that people should either come or come to the virtual hearing, it's important. The other hearings will be held, one will be held downtown at WMATA. One will be held in Silver Spring near the downtown Silver Spring Armory. And then, like I said, the third will be here in this building. And usually the members of the county boards and city councils who serve in that capacity for WMATA will be attending the hearings, and our rep, I believe, actually is still Brian Helfer. But Matt DiFerenti may be there because he's now the chair of the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission.
Great. And are you planning on being there, Doris? Would you possibly be able to make a statement on, on as a representative of the DAC?
Yeah, at least her, yeah. I have to figure out how to divide that between Doris Reyes and being Doris Reyes. They never let you testify twice, but I'll figure it out.
Okay, great.
But if people have ideas, please come forward. But it would be good to see other faces who, that we need to pack that.
Definitely. So all of us need to send out information about it. So we are almost at the 9 o'clock hour. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to mention that they haven't had a chance to? Okay, well, we will see you all next month, and please go to the WMATA meeting.
A motion to adjourn?
Oh, motion to adjourn, seconded.
One thing, real fast.
Sure.
Yeah. So, thanks to Brian, we had a bill in the Virginia General Assembly introduced by the new delegate McClure. And I don't know whether you've seen that she decided in the end to call the bill back to carry it over to next year. That's a good decision. I think she saved her bill entirely by doing that, because it might have gone to committee and been tabled. And if it had been tabled, it would have been gone. It would have been a dead issue.
Yeah, a unique perk of our citizen legislator. You only get 60 days to push bills in, but we were able to get a draft bill in.
Oh, it has to be reviewed.
Yeah. But I think the slot count, we were able to fill in her one of the slots for the 2025 session. And last update I got was probably the same update, but they're formulating a working group to really make sure that we're.
Yeah, she hadn't quite said it that way to me, but she wrote me and said, we're carrying it over and we would like you to work with us on input for a rendition next year. And she said it sounded like she wanted to bring the builders in, and that it would be better targeted at amending the building code to increase the percentage of type A units.
Well, congratulations, Brian.
That's excellent.
So
Yes. Yeah.
Nobody said how much, but we've been advocating for 10%. But we'll have all year to do that, and the Disability Commission is already discussing it with the Housing Commission. So we might come out this fall with something that's a real go.
That's great.
So that's
Excellent. And watch for an email from me on the 25th or that Monday, the 25th or 26th. I now don't have my calendar in front of me, where I'll be going over what I was hoping to say at the budget meeting, and you guys can provide your input. Great.
Will
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Shoes are gonna play.